in the world today, we want to welcome you to this special virtual gathering where we talk about different topics and talk with different experts, authors, people from the team at getAbstract. And we just like to chat about a lot of different things. Obviously, it is a time right now where we're all adapting and adjusting to a new work environment, and that leaves us a lot of time online. So we want to spend some of that time with you here discussing books that we're reading, topics that are piquing our interest, and of course, provide solutions to you wherever you are so that you can make the best decisions possible in your personal as well as professional lives. So that's what these get-togethers are all about. And today we're going to talk about the topic of simplicity, which is something I think we can all agree that we need a little bit more of, and how to introduce some basic rules and habits to your life that actually lead to success. And we're going to discuss that today with our guest, Linda Wohlfarth. She's joining me on the other side of the screen there. And she is the digital marketing manager at getAbstract. Linda, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Kirsten, and hi, everyone watching on the screen. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So one of the books that you wanted to talk about today is Marie Kondo's, which I'm sure everyone is very familiar with Marie Kondo by now, but her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. But there's a very particular message and impact right now in our current context. And what is that?
Well, I think one point is, what's kind of interesting is that we now, most of us work from home, and usually we have the separation between our workspace and our home. So even if your home feels a bit cluttered sometimes, you go to the office and you have your clean desk there maybe, or at least it's a separation. And now these things come together, they're all at the same space. So if one aspect feels a bit cluttered, or you feel like I don't feel very organized in this area right now, it immediately affects the other part. So definitely that is something that is happening. And the other thing is, I think like this whole situation of this pandemic and the corona crisis, it creates a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things that we don't really know how they will evolve in the next few weeks and months. And I personally felt that it makes life easier or more relaxed, maybe, if you have some really simple rules to get back to. And I think the Marie Kondo's book really offers that, very simple rules for having a tidy apartment and life where you feel good at.
Yeah, so maybe if this is something that you read in the past, maybe it's something to revisit. I know that we all love revisiting books that we've read before, because at every phase and every season of our lives, they seem to take on a different meaning. And this current context of all of us working from home and practicing social distancing is really offering a refocus to how can I tidy up or reorganize or declutter in a way that helps my current context. You had a good experience in implementing some of these Marie Kondo tips into your life. Can you tell us about your own personal experience kondoing?
Yeah, yes. There was a time a few years ago, and somehow I ended up moving 4 times in 3 years, and I was just overwhelmed by the stuff that I had. And whenever you move, you realize how much it is. And after the second move, I don't know, I read somewhere about this book and thought, okay, I can read the book. And actually the review we have about this on getAbstract says something like, the book is so interesting to read and it's like fascinating and you feel there's a lot of opportunity there, but you don't actually have to act. You can just read it and it already feels good. But then, I mean, the important step is, of course, to really get started and tidy up. And then I really went through everything that I own step by step by the categories that she proposes. And maybe just to mention like 2 areas, there was like in the clothes, my wardrobe, in my former job, I was working as a management consultant, and I had all of these dresses and these blouses and like really serious clothes. And I felt like this is not me anymore. And I hope I will never have a job again where I have to wear something like this. And then I even said to a friend, like, look, I have these serious blouses and I don't have this life anymore. I have to get rid of them. It's really not who I am anymore. And maybe another topic, and that's also, I mean, yeah, relevant for people like getAbstract, probably especially books. I had much more books than I have now, but I realized that quite many of them I had never read. I had found them and I thought I'd buy them and would read them someday, but then it didn't really happen. And then with that Marie Kondo thing in mind of, do they spark joy? I thought, no, they don't. I probably will never read them. And I got rid of a lot of books that I thought would be interesting for me or would be relevant, but realized they are not. And I think that's also something that she mentions, which is interesting. Maybe you think like, oh, I have 100 business books. This is super important for me, but maybe you haven't read them. And I was a little bit like that. I had like several nonfiction books that I hadn't really read. And then I realized that a lot more novels that I really appreciated and wanted to have in my shelf. And that I really found interesting to see, not so much which are the books or the topics, but more connecting it to what kind of person am I? Does this fit? Do these books reflect my personality and my interests?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's really very simple in the end, that what she says, that you go through all of your things and look at them, touch them, and decide, do they spark joy for you? And once you've gone through everything, you put them into a place where they belong. And actually, I think both things are really powerful. The sparking joy helps you much more than you would expect from a tidying book to see what person you are, what kind of life you want to live, and then where the things belong just helps to keep things organized. You never have to tidy again because you have tidied up once.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes there's a lot of fear in getting rid of things. And that's not just for people who are hoarders, but in real life, there can be this fear of, I don't even want to touch that pile because I know there's stuff that I'm going to be confronted with, maybe things from my past, maybe things that I know I need to get to. And if I feel like I haven't gotten to them, that makes me a bad person. There can be a lot of self-condemnation and judgment and guilt. So we're avoiding those feelings. But one thing that you mentioned to me in your reflection upon this book that really stuck with me is that we can approach those things without fear because we can look at them and we can say, thank you. And that doesn't have to be like an overly spiritual thing, but like say, okay, thank you for the role and service you played in my life at one time. And now it's time to say goodbye. Is that how you dealt with maybe some fear that you had in tackling some things in your own apartment or workspace?
Yes, I think that probably really applies to like things from the past. We talked a bit about this, of jobs we had or just life periods in our life that are like more than a decade ago. And of course we change, we evolve. What sparks joy now doesn't have to spark joy in 10 years or 20 years necessarily. So I think that's good to just be honest to yourself. And for example, like gifts you receive, there's so much also guilt connected to that you think, someone gave it to me, I cannot just get rid of it. What if they ever ask about it? But in the end, it makes you feel so much better when you're surrounded with things you really like. And I mean, so often you don't get asked about these gifts anymore.
Yeah, seriously.
So
and I do want to
that would be a tip. Yeah, maybe. And another thing, when you have this area where what you mentioned, that you don't really know, or you know you should tackle it, but you don't really know when and how, and you keep avoiding it. Most things seem much more frightening when you don't know really about it. If you have this box and you just put things in there, do you think like, oh God, I don't really know what's in there. Hopefully nothing really, I don't know, no bad consequence comes out of it. And I had this a bit with my personal finances, that I had filed all of these documents from banks, but then I knew I hadn't really like arranged my retirement, investment things, and just going through all of these documents and getting rid of what I don't need anymore gave me a much better overview of what I had and what was missing. And then actually I felt much more ready then to approach this topic, just because I knew, okay,
absolutely.
this is, now I know what I have, now I know my basis.
Yeah, such a great point, especially about the finances as well. I'm sure that many people can relate to that. We do have a question from Facebook, and I just want to encourage those of you who are watching this live, at any time, if you've got a question that you want to ask to Linda, please jump in, put your question in the comments, and we will try to get to it as soon as possible. A question from Lauren we have is, what advice do you have for people who find sentiment in so many items, making it hard to purge anything? What would you say to Lauren?
I try to speak with Marie Kondo, but I think from my experience, it's really true that there are people who feel very at ease with a lot of things, and that you can also see in an apartment. If there are a lot of things that spark joy for that person, that they really like and have memories, and they just want to keep them, that is fine. The whole concept is not really about minimalism, at least not in a strict way. It's really more about concentrating on the things that you like, and discarding the things that you don't like, that don't serve you anymore, that don't fit to your life anymore. And then you can get rid with a thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And you have more rooms, I think, for the things that you do have sentimental value connected with when you release the things that don't. Let's move on to kind of how this applies to our work life. And we're going to be talking about simplicity over the next couple of weeks, you and I. You're going to be doing a series on simplicity. So we're going to tackle how to simplify in many different areas. But just kind of how this segues into work life and the business world. It's actually a really great book also for further reading on this topic. An older book from 1999 by Jack Trout called The Power of Simplicity. And you noticed from that book that the concept of simplicity versus complexity, especially as it applies to business, has changed quite significantly just over the past 2 decades.
Yeah, I recently went back to that book, and I thought, it really felt interesting to me, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna look at it again, and I found, like, of course, it's surprisingly old, as you mentioned, like 20 years old, but I thought the concept should still be the same. And then I also found that the recommendations they gave, this all really made sense in terms of strategy, or how to innovate, or how to lead. But then in the beginning, this whole mindset in which they wrote it, and the business at that time, they pointed so much out that complexity was seen as something very positive, while simplicity was seen as something stupid. Like the association that people have when you say, "Oh, I have this simple solution," that it would make you sound stupid. And there were all of these consulting companies which tried to sell you very complex, not even really solutions, but really like complex ways of tackling something. And I found that so interesting that somehow times have changed. This is not really anymore how I perceive simplicity is talked about in companies. It's really, I think it has turned a lot, and is now recognized by many companies as something they would want to achieve more. They want to work in a simpler way, want to communicate in a simpler way. And also, I think there are a lot of studies and tests that show that users and customers like simple products or simple apps, and that they don't need a big manual for.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that just makes me think, and if are any of you that are watching this either now or later, and you can tell us maybe a way that your company or organization has introduced a solution or way of working together that has helped simplify, that would obviously benefit all of us who are watching this video, that'd be great, because this is the time to do it, right? We need simplicity now more than ever, when we're all juggling various roles, working from home, not being able to go out to eat, so everyone's cooking, possibly taking care of and trying to educate kids from home. If any time is the time to simplify things, especially your work life, now is the time to do it. Linda, what are some key things from that book, The Power of Simplicity, that you think are really good takeaways for business life?
I think one important area is information, because a lot of people have struggle with information overload. There's just so much information out there. You often get the impression that you should read much more, get informed much more, learn everything, know everything, and it's just not possible. And the real simple way, what they describe in the book, is that they say, okay, you just focus on what is really relevant for your business. You don't have to know everything else that is happening around. You just you have to focus. If not, you will do nothing right. Then you will always be somewhere in between. And I think that is a really valuable recommendation, and it can be applied by anyone, just specifically to their role or specifically to their industry. And if you have time left, if you do some newspaper reading on the weekend, or read a magazine or something, or a book, then of course you can open up your perspective anytime, but you don't have to feel obliged to stay current on everything all the time. I think their much more focus really also helps much more. And then another thing, going more into strategy, they say what is really important is that you differentiate yourself from your competitors, and that is nothing really new. But when strategies become too complex, it's also good to go back and look at how to simplify what you do and really bring it to the point, and don't have these extra layers and extra possibilities or opportunities. And then you have to make sure your employees, your whole team knows what is going on, what the strategy is, where the company is going, that they really understand that and feel informed. And what I found funny, for me it was really fun, that they say you should pay for training first and then for motivation. And it goes back, I think, a bit to the beginning, to these consultants that sell you over complex solutions, motivational speakers that try to sell you motivation, when probably all it takes is just clarity on what you do and what each and every team member is supposed to do. And if someone doesn't have the skills right now to do that, then maybe a training helps much better than having motivational speakers come in every 3 months.
Yeah, no, those are really great points. Thank you. And both of the links to those abstracts are going to be in the comments section. Want to get to another great question from Michael in the comments. He says, cleaning up your home is one thing, but is there a promising strategy to get colleagues in the office to tidy up? Starting some drama, to throw old stuff away, just in case we're allowed to go back to our desks in the near future.
Okay. Yes, I mean, now you have it all under your control, right? I mean, it would be more a family issue right now than a work-related issue, really. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's hard to tell someone to get more organized, and it's probably hard to articulate it in a way that they perceive it positively. I know Marie Kondo speaks about this in the book, a bit more related to family members, because a lot of people started their own and see the benefits, but then they say, yeah, but of course my partner is doing this wrong, or my children don't follow the rules. And what she says is, what you probably can do is talk about it a bit, but then really just do it for yourself, and then if you sit next to someone and they realize, oh, you have a clean, tidy desk and you have a plant on it that survives and an interesting book, but not a whole pile of things that you always wanted to read, then it probably will look attractive to them, and they might ask, like, how do you do this? And then you can talk more.
I love that. A plant that survives. Keyword being survive. Wonderful. Well, Linda, last question, and we're wrapping up here. Last question is, to simplify our conversation, if there's one thing that you think or you would recommend it would be good for people to go away from this live session and simplify in their life, what would it be?
I think right now, with so many of us being at home and spending much more in the kitchen, I would recommend the kitchen. So with all of the restaurants being closed and just takeaways being available, but depending where you live, it's not always the best option. I think it's a good moment now to tackle something that is not overly overwhelming or too complex, or maybe also too connected with memories. So just go into your kitchen, open the fridge, open the pantry, and check what is there. And is everything still good? What can you use? Do you get some like recipe inspirations from that? And once you've taken it all out, you can organize it a bit and see what you want to use up first, put those things to the front, arrange it in a way that it sparks joy, so that it's not, like packages over packages and you don't really see where everything is. So I think that is a really limited space where you can start and try this out. And then you can make some nice meals. You will see what you have used up and what you need to buy again, or what you don't want to buy for now. And I hope that will give you some good cooking inspiration, and then like one room that is already sparking joy, if the others are not.
I love it. One room sparking joy, the kitchen, guaranteed. Linda, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thank all of you for joining us for this live session, this Get Together, of course, brought to you by the whole team here at getAbstract. I'm Kirsten, and it's been a pleasure to be with all of you. Just want to let you know that our goal is to do these get-togethers every single day. So we're going to be talking with a different member of the team here at getAbstract, authors, experts. We'll be doing updates on the current state of the pandemic, everything to try to get information and resources from trusted sources into your hands every single day, live here on Facebook and on Vimeo. So stay tuned to all of our social channels, where we'll be announcing our guests and the abstracts that you can read in preparation for those live sessions. And we will be back here tomorrow, same place, same time, 5 p.m. Central European Time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time in the US, on Facebook Live for another Get Together with Sarah Kupfer. She is a writer and editor at getAbstract, and we're going to be talking about tips and tricks for working remotely. We can always learn more about how to do that better. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Extraordinary challenges require extraordinary responses from thought leaders, company executives, and employees. As the coronavirus pandemic unfolds and businesses scramble to adapt to escalating containment efforts, getAbstract is here to help organizations navigate this crisis wisely and professionally. For over 20 years, we've been committed to providing relevant knowledge from reliable sources to help people make better decisions in their personal and professional lives. In line with our mission to empower decision makers with relevant knowledge from trusted sources, we are proud to offer businesses free access to our full library until May 18. Embark on a no-strings-attached knowledge journey with getAbstract. Sign up today.